revolution and the like. What does that mean? Anyhow, in 1994, the world stood idly by as the Central African country of Rwanda was experiencing the mass slaughter of more than 800,000, mainly Tutsis and some moderate Hutus. In the events that took place after the genocide, many government officials in that country mourned the loss of many and were surprised about the world's obliviousness to the situation that could have largely been prevented from taking place in the first place. Now, the Rwandan genocide didn't really interest the outside world at the time, as the Yugoslavia genocide, for instance, did. But today, people around the world hold solemn commemorations to mark the 22nd anniversary of the genocide. Slightly more than 2 decades later, Rwandans navigate their way forward, and along with them, we commemorate this sad day in our modern history here in South Africa as well. Now, in studio, we are fortunate to be joined today by the Rwandan High Commissioner to South Africa, Mr. Vincent Karega. A very good morning to you, sir, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
What does this day mean for Rwandans around the world?
It is a very critical day when Rwandans think, why did we go that lower? And how can we today continue to ensure that we don't go back to similar situation and that we take our country, our nation in our hands and propel it to better status, to more hopes for the people of Rwanda. So it's a day of reflection. It's not the time to build grudge, but to learn lessons and to move forward.
You talk about learning lessons around this. What's the language, and this is a question we're also asking our viewers today, what's the lesson a country like South Africa, for instance, who have its own unique political challenges and divisions, what's the lesson that we learn, or that we should learn, from what happened in Rwanda? The
Rwandan people historically were so united, shared common values, and were organized until they were colonized and divided to permit the colonial power to rule. And then followed independence, but with bad governance. So a lesson to the whole world is when the country is not governed properly, when the population of a country do not feel the state is fair and dealing with issues of all citizens equally, that's when grudges and conflict and tensions within communities or between leadership and people starts.
Yeah.
As far as South Africa is concerned, I have no lesson to give. South Africa is such an inspiration to the continent. It has got 100 years old ANC. They have the capacity to assess problems, the capacity to find solutions. It's a complex economy. It is the most modern in the continent, but it's also a dual economy in which discrepancies and the gaps are so huge. So it's not a very easy case to manage. So it comes with challenges. The most important is that you have systems, you have constitution and institutions that can face challenges, but that are able at the same time to overcome the challenges before it is too late.
You've been in South Africa for many years. When you follow the media, when you read mainstream media, when you hear politicians using the language of genocide, calling people the names of insects and talking about revolution, a bloody revolution and so forth, do you get concerned for what that could mean in a country like South Africa?
The genocide starts with language. But as far as I'm concerned and my experience here, those kind of words came out of anger through hot debates. They did not come as ideological. And in most cases, people have withdrawn them or apologized for them, which is a good thing. Because where genocide happens, people don't apologize, they enforce them, and they continue to spread them. In your case, when those kind of words come out of anger, they are immediately withdrawn. But preventing having those kind of words that will hurt hearts and raise higher the tension is also something to prevent, or something to build into the way of thinking. So racial words like calling people monkeys, or calling others pigs, also
cockroaches,
lice, or you know,
lice and the like. These kinds of words.
Words that group people around race or ethnic or political affiliation,
religion.
Yeah, can really bring conflict, animosity that are necessary in a country that is building one nation.
I want to talk about the UN quickly. The late Boutros Ghali was the UN chief at the time of the chaos in Rwanda. What would you have liked him, as the leader of the UN at the time, to have done differently then to prevent the kind of pictures that we're seeing on screen now?
I think the whole world knows that under his leadership it was total failure. Rwanda genocide was on CNN. The whole world knew. The UN mission that was in Rwanda was reduced instead of being expanded. And the reports from the people on the ground showed clearly that they sensed genocide was getting planned and it was going to happen. And it happened following what they reported, but there was very little intervention. So that, we've never forgotten that in Rwanda. It shows this body, the UN, global body, only acts where probably the key decision makers in the body have got interests, like strategic resources and so on. Because it is also, we saw the difference when in Yugoslavia, almost the same thing wanted to happen.
Yeah.
The UN was so able to stop it, and the Yugoslavia government was much more armed than probably the Rwandan army of during genocide, whereby people were using machetes and other things. So that could be much easier for UN and probably African Union to stop. But it did not happen until almost 1 million people were killed.
We remember that day. We will remember that day in Africa forever, I would think. I thank you for joining us today, the Rwandan High Commissioner to South Africa, Mr. Vincent Karega. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you.
Moving on, President Jacob Zuma has announced that the next local government elections here in South Africa will take place on the 3rd of August.